Welcome to another episode of Basic AF, Basic as Football, a podcast about college football for newbies and experts. I'm Brendan Marcello, joined by Amanda Marcello. We're not related, but she's my wife and I'm her husband.
That's a weird way to put it.
I guess so.
We're related under the law.
I cover college football for CBS Sports and 24/7 Sports, and she's just kind of a casual fan, and she's not new to this, but
I'm not new to this, but I'm true to this.
we don't talk. We don't talk about work, college football very often, but bring her on here to discuss it, and we see where we go. Interesting conversations. Today, we're going to be talking about what's going on in college football since the season ended. A lot of movement in the coaching carousel, of course. It's Super Bowl week, but we're not going to talk about that till after the Super Bowl, pretty much. And National Signing Days this week. And, of course, later in the episode, we're going to do some Roundball rock, as John Tesh would say. He's the one who did the NBA on NBC theme. They call it Roundball rock.
Okay.
We're going to welcome in
the process.
my old beat friend on the Auburn beat, Justin Ferguson, and his wife, Mary Kate Ferguson. That's still weird to say.
That is. But it's so cute.
Mary Kate used to be an intern for me when I covered Auburn, and Justin Ferguson was just a fledgling reporter trying to make his way up in the world.
We're both just babies.
And now he's the king covering Auburn down there. And I wanted to bring him on because Auburn basketball is #1 in the country, and they are just on a tear, and I love following them. And we're going to discuss that a little bit, kind of deviate a little bit from football. But first off, let's get into this. So Ohio State won a national championship, as we know, but now they got to replace 3 coaches, including both their coordinators.
Yeah.
Chip Kelly, the offensive coordinator, now going to the Las Vegas Raiders to call plays for them. Jim Knowles, their defensive coordinator, going to Penn State to call plays for them. And they also lost their offensive line coach, Justin Fry, to the Arizona Cardinals. So 2 coaches going to the NFL, one going to a rival in the Big Ten. So Ohio State very much in rebuild mode, not just with the players, but also staff.
Is that typical after a big national championship win for coaching staff to kind of have a big exodus like that? Is that a sign of trouble, or is that normal because other teams are kind of poaching what worked?
And sometimes that's the case, and it's just everything's got to be contextualized, of course. So Chip Kelly, he took that OC job at Ohio State after being the head coach at UCLA, pretty much just to go win a national championship with his old buddy Ryan Day, the head coach. Ryan Day played for Chip Kelly way back at New Hampshire. And so they've known each other for a very long time. They got together, won a national championship. He wanted to get back in the NFL. He's going to go call plays. And so he gets to do that. And also, he's going to be paid more money than he was at Ohio State. He's going to be paid like $6 million a year to call plays. And he doesn't have to deal with recruiting or the transfer portal. He doesn't have to deal with any of that crap. So he does that. The one that surprised, or not surprised, but kind of maybe irked Ohio State fans the most was Jim Knowles leaving for a rival in the Big Ten, Penn State. And it's an interesting situation there because Penn State is kind of doing what Ohio State did last year this time. Ohio State went all in on this past season, knowing, hey, we got the players, we got the coaches, let's build everything up and win a national championship this year. Penn State, very similar. They got a lot of players returning. They got great coaches, and they just added on even more, getting Jim Knowles, like Ohio State did last year by adding Chip Kelly, getting a big-time coach to help call plays. So it's going to be fascinating to watch Penn State. There's a lot of pressure on them next year now. It's like, not to say national championship or bust, but it might be like, if we don't reach a national championship game, when are we ever at Penn State? Yeah. A lot of pressure there. But Jim Knowles going there for a big payday himself, $3.1 million. He's the highest paid assistant coach in college football now.
Defensive or?
Any assistant coach, no matter the position.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of money. And Jim spent 3 years at Ohio State. Before that was at Oklahoma State. Gets his first national title, and now he wants to win one at Penn State. Back in his home state of Pennsylvania, by the way. He grew up in North Philly, son of a Philly cop. And he says he used to watch Penn State on TV but never went to a game because they didn't have the means or resources. And he always said it was like a dream, but he said State College, Pennsylvania might as well have been in California to me. It was just so far away, and it's a dream he never could achieve. Now he's getting to be a coach there and try to win a national title.
Is he going to get to run it how he wants to run it? Because I read in a story, I believe on CBSSports.com.
Was it my story?
I believe it was.
Yeah, there you
go. That he was running a 3-man front. Was that? Did I get that right?
Yeah, sort of.
Historically, he likes to run 4-man.
Well, no, okay. So when he was at Oklahoma State and at Duke, He likes this hybrid position called the Jack, or he's also called the Leo, which is a player who's not necessarily a linebacker or a defensive back or a defensive lineman.
Kind of just like a flux.
It's kind of like a
flex situation.
Yeah, kind of mold all those guys together. He doesn't quite fit a position based off size or speed or anything like that, but he's a guy that's just a football player that can read plays, and he's the guy that Jim Knowles like communicates to on the sideline. Like, listen, if you see this guy moving, this is what I want you to do. He's
almost
just
like an audible kind of thing.
Almost, yeah. But he's kind of like I almost call him like the assassin. He's like the guy going, here's your assignment play to play. If this happens, I want you to go after this. If this happens, I want you to go after this. He can go back up in coverage. He can rush the passer. He can be a guy that's hitting between the tackles and making tackles. Someone who could do a little bit of everything. There's not a lot of players that can do that. The closest position that could do that is linebacker, like an outside linebacker. This guy's kind of like that, but maybe a little bit more fleet of foot, so to speak. But he didn't get to have that at Ohio State because they're more of a 4-down defense, and they like big guys in the trenches.
Okay, but if he's the coordinator, why doesn't he get to make that decision?
Because the head coach has the final say. Big boss always does. Also, Ohio State has a long-time assistant coach that coaches the defensive line there, Larry Johnson, and it was pretty clear to Jim Knowles that, hey, we're going to run things the way we've always done it, at least with our defensive line philosophy. So he didn't have that Jack position utilized as much as he would maybe want or utilize, and so he had to change things, and yet he still had the number one scoring defense this year. I also think that they're losing a lot there at Ohio State this year. They're losing their entire defensive line, 8 starters total along the defense. So I think he saw an opening there. Oklahoma was going after him. Notre Dame was talking about him a little bit. And then Penn State, home state, also big payday. And Ohio State wasn't going to quite match what they're going to give them. And then also you still had to go back in the same building and maybe not do things entirely the way you want to. So
yeah, it sounds like just kind of a mismatch of philosophy, even though he did well.
Very well.
Kind of sounds like, if you get a chance for more money and to run the schemes that you want.
Yeah.
In your home state.
Yeah. I didn't really get to know him at all until he was at Oklahoma State. And I remember talking to him one-on-one once on Zoom, and came away so impressed, just like even laying things out to a bare bones way about what makes his defense work. And he was talking about the jack position and all that stuff. And so it was kind of weird when he went to Ohio State, because that jack position, you see it some for college football teams, for teams that are like undersized or undermanned. And Ohio State's not that. They're big. They get all the guys they need. So they didn't need to run that, but I think it's still in his blood. He likes having that guy on the field. He can tell what to do anywhere. They can be in coverage. They can go, between the tackles and shed blockers and tackle. I think he kind of misses that. I don't know if he'll actually do that at Penn State. He even said it in his press conference, because I don't know if we'll utilize it, but as he said, it's always rattling in my brain. It's always there. He wants to do it.
Quick question about just the name, the jack position. Mm-hmm. Is it called that at every school that uses it, or is that just what he calls it? Or
not every school, but you've heard some call it a jack linebacker, which it pretty much is, like a hybrid spot. But a lot of positions, these hybrid spots, some will even have a hybrid like safety. They'll call something else. I'm trying to think of some. There's been so many, like Tiger. I've heard some be even called Tiger.
But
Jack.
They all kind of do the same thing?
No, not necessarily. But this position is kind of a hybrid among all of them.
That is his favorite.
Yeah.
For lack of a better
Others
term.
kind of do it.
And they all call them the jack, or that's just what he calls it?
That's just what he calls it.
Okay.
Some people call it the jack as well. Because it's just so, yeah. But
is it like a jack of all trades kind of?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
You got it, girl. You got it. Also, other coaching movement, a big one, Ryan Grubb going to Alabama after being in the NFL for 1 year with the Seattle Seahawks. He was previously with Kalen DeBoer, now the head coach at Alabama, at Washington, Fresno State. He's been with them for the better part of the last 17, 18 years. He was hired at Alabama when Kalen DeBoer took the job last year. Left shortly after that because the NFL came calling. So, you want to call plays with Seattle Seahawks? And he's like, yes, please. But then he got fired this year. And now he's going back to Alabama to coach and call plays.
So I guess there's no bad blood there.
No. It was one of those things where just go do it.
So
You're not going to get another chance probably.
DeBoer's like, yeah, bestie, go for it.
Yes. Yeah, that's pretty much it, yeah.
Go get that bag, bestie, and I'll have a spot for you if you need to come back.
But it's just strange how things work out because Ryan Grubb, I talked to him last year when he was at Washington with Kalen DeBoer, and they made the college football playoff national championship game. And I found out that Nick Saban a few years ago called him up to see if he'd be interested in being the OC at Alabama when Saban was the coach. And he's like, no, not really, because I want to be able to run my system the way I want to do it.
With my bestie.
With my bestie.
With my bestie.
Yeah. And Saban probably wasn't going to allow that to happen. Alabama has its way of doing things.
Yeah.
And they hired Bill O'Brien, I think it was Bill O'Brien, or maybe it's someone else. I'm sorry, my timelines are messed up. And it's just the Alabama system that's kind of been in place since Steve Sarkisian and Lane Kiffin were the OCs there over the last 5-10 years, I should say. But now he gets to be there with his bestie, as you said. And I think it's
reunited, and it feels so good.
I think it's a great hire because Alabama struggled running the ball a little bit this year. Also, they were struggling on third downs. I don't think Jalen Milroe, their quarterback, quite fit the system that DeBoer and co are wanting to run. Grubb's going to change things a little bit to get that run game going. He did the same thing at Washington. Going to run a lot of bunch sets, apparently. I think this is something that's going to fit out. And Alabama's going to have a quarterback battle this spring, which is going to be really enticing to watch. Ty Simpson, the favorite there, much different from Jalen Milroe. So I think it's a great hire, and I think it's only good for Alabama.
They have proven success together as a staff. So
yep, big time. Also, this week, and in fact, maybe by the time you watch this, National Signing Day.
When are we recording it? Recording on Tuesday.
On a Tuesday, but
going up on a Tuesday.
But here's the reason why I say it doesn't really matter when we're recording this, because National Signing Day just isn't as big as it once was.
Yeah.
Because of the early signing period in December, and also because of the transfer portal being open in December. So a lot of players sign in December now instead of on National Signing Day, the typical National Signing Day, the first Wednesday in February. And so I was looking through this, the crew at 24/7 Sports was looking at this. Only 2 of the top 247 players in the 24/7 Sports rankings are making announcements Wednesday. Like everybody else is pretty much decided where they're going and everything.
So the fax machines are going to be quiet?
Well, don't really do fax machines anymore either. That's sad. Yeah, we're old. I remember I think Alabama had
I'm sad.
I remember Alabama had a fax cam. They put a camera and streamed it with a fax machine. Yeah. Now you just email it.
The fact that they were streaming a fax machine.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the gap in technologies there. Streaming a fax machine. Come on. So they don't fax anymore?
I think he still could, but I don't think anybody does.
Nobody does. I mean, who even has a fax machine? I remember I was working in banking. I started in 2006 to 2014. People would come and be like, "Can you fax something?" I'd be like, "Bestie, it's 2014. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Why are we faxing?" Even back then.
I heard a fax joke in a movie I was watching a few days ago.
Was it a new movie?
No, it was Die Hard 2.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. I was say, do people even...
John McClane needed someone to fax some fingerprints over, and the lady behind the desk at the airport was flirting with them. And she's like, maybe after I get off work, we can get a drink or whatever. And he goes, just the fax, ma'am. Just the fax.
That's a line from an even older...
Yeah.
TV show. What was that show?
Dragnet.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And
anybody listening, y'all know what we're talking about.
Words.
We've lost the listeners.
Yeah. But anyway, so that just tells you how old everything is, and it's just crazy. I mean, National Signing Day used to be huge. You'd have all these weird flips, crazy announcements. Players picking up puppies, going, "I'm signing with the Georgia Bulldogs," and all that stuff. Not anymore. In fact, a lot of players now, they'll just make an announcement on a random Tuesday and they'll stream it, or they'll just post it on their socials because everybody's got their own brand now.
Yeah.
It's much different from what it used to be.
Yeah.
Just how it goes.
When I was reading up a little bit for National Signing Day stuff, I saw an interesting tidbit that is not news. News to me. Nick Saban used to work for Bill Belichick?
Yes.
When? And where?
Talk about besties.
Besties.
In the NFL. Oh gosh, this tells you how bad my football knowledge is. I don't follow the NFL.
I could have looked it up, but I wanted to quiz you.
Is it the Jets?
I don't know.
Oh, I thought you looked it up.
No, I didn't. I wanted to quiz you.
I'm not Googling. Yeah, they work together in the NFL. Keep talking.
Yeah, so that sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah, they work together. It's funny when Bill Belichick, now the head coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels, with the biggest move in everywhere we ever
the
believe.
Browns.
Yeah, the Browns. That's what it was. The Browns.
Ooh, Dana will be so disappointed that I didn't know that.
Yeah, Cleveland Browns.
Dana.
But yeah, when Bill Belichick got hired there at North Carolina, the joke in the Twitter sphere and Blue Sky sphere was that
in the stratosphere.
It's like, hey, Bill Belichick, I know a very good defensive coordinator you could hire who's free and has open time on his hands.
Yeah.
Nick Saban.
Hey,
why not? But no, that's not going to happen.
No. He's enjoying himself.
Oh, yeah.
He's retired.
Most definitely.
What was talk about another old show, the duck that would like swim in the piles of money. What was that duck?
I was Scrooge McDuck in DuckTales.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's just Scrooge McDucking it on his piles of money.
Yeah.
Sweet, sweet piles of money.
Yeah. And on ESPN a lot.
Yeah, he's still working.
He's working a lot. In fact, at SEC Media Days, he was working his tail off.
Yeah.
He was everywhere.
Yeah. Well, you can't give it up.
That's the thing, man. It's just like
it gets in your blood and you can't give it up.
It's in your blood. And I think a lot of guys, when they get older, they go, if I stop working, something's going to happen to me. I'm going to, like, my health's going to fail me or something's going to happen. And I do wonder, like, if that ever sticks with him, because he was a coach at Alabama, greatest ever. Bear Bryant before him was considered the GOAT at Alabama. And, like, shortly after he retired at Alabama, he died, Bear Bryant.
When you say shortly, what do you mean? Like
a few months, I believe.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he didn't live long after retiring at Alabama. And then you even see at Penn State, Joe Paterno. You know, he kind of got forced out, retired there, however you want to term it, and then he died shortly after that. You know, I really do believe that in life, like, you know, it's like
slow down.
You can't slow down, but it's also like the Notebook. You know, once you lose that purpose in your life, what's worth going on for? You know, you just hold your partner's hand in the bed and
die together.
Wow. That's so morbid and weird. Wow. But no, I think a lot of these people just, you want to continue working, continue what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because you enjoy it. It's hard to sit still sometimes, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to talk basketball?
We can.
Let's talk to Justin Ferguson.
Let's do it.
And
I'm
Mary
excited
Kate.
to talk to them.
We're joined by Justin Ferguson of the Auburn Observer, entrepreneur, trailblazer in the journalism industry.
Absolutely.
And Mary Kate. And by the way, I don't think I've ever said this out loud. Mary Kate Ferguson.
I'm still getting used to it. I love it, though. I love it.
Fun.
It's a lot easier to say. I'm sure you can agree.
Yeah. It's just weird coming out of my mouth. So Mary Kate was an intern for Auburn Undercover when I worked there with 24/7 Sports. She did a great job. Best
I'm his
intern we ever
favorite.
had. Yeah, best intern we ever had. Take that, other people. And we had good times. And now Mary Kate and Justin Ferguson are married. And when we were down there, they weren't even dating yet, Amanda, remember?
Yeah, I know.
And now they're married.
Now.
They live in the same house.
We moved away and the kids got married.
That's right. Yeah, we went
just old.
Yeah, so we used to hang out a little bit, mostly in media rooms, Justin and I.
Yep.
Transcribing, and I would make my stupid jokes that no one would laugh at just to keep myself sane.
I mean, yeah, they're really funny. They're good.
Those are my favorite times. I still talk about them. So I laughed. If no one else did, I laughed.
Well, the Auburn
for your service.
The Auburn beat is much hipper and cooler and younger now, so that's good.
It's very young down there, isn't it now?
Yeah, no, it's super young. I'm one of the old guys now. That has been the real adjustment, is looking around and being like, oh wow,
Marsh, the old guys,
children. Yeah, there's so many children now covering this.
Well, it's like that everywhere now. Like everywhere I go, it's like it's just, you know, I'm just feel very old when I walk around. You know. And I'm putting stuff on TikTok and dancing. So what they do on TikTok.
What is TikTok?
I don't know. Anyway, so I wanted to bring Justin and Mary Kate on because one, Auburn basketball is just killing it right now.
Which, by the way, nobody kill me. You proposed this idea to me, and I said, "Oh, cool, yeah, that would be fun. I'd love to talk to them." And I looked him in the eyes and I said, "Is Auburn basketball even any good?"
Ugh.
That's a little.
And that's another difference from when y'all were in Auburn.
And
They
I'm
were
so
starting to
sad.
get good.
Yeah,
I'm so
I
checked
covered.
out on basketball right now. I'm even Arkansas. Like I don't follow.
Well, there's a reason why you should be checked out on Arkansas
Well,
basketball.
Hey, got a big win. Got a big win last Saturday.
we watched that.
Cal University beat Kentucky. Now we'll see what Arkansas does for the rest of the season.
But I said, is Auburn even any good? And he goes, they're number 1 in the country. And I was like, oh, War Eagle, yay!
You don't remember 2 years ago when they came up here to play Arkansas, Auburn was number 1.
Yeah, we went to that game.
And Arkansas upset them, and Eric Musselman took his shirt off, and
we went to that game in Auburn gear, no less.
They were wearing Auburn gear for that one.
Oh, wow.
And guess who was sitting behind us? Tim Horton.
Oh, the legend.
I miss him. Nice.
He was in town. His home, so he was there. He was kind of cheering for Auburn a little bit, but we're all surrounded by Arkansas people. It's kind of weird.
It was a weird vibe for us. But it's fine.
Yeah. So we're talking about Auburn right before we're recording this a few hours before they play OU.
Mm-hmm.
They should win that game. But
should.
I'm probably jinxing it by bringing you on.
I'm like knocking on some wood over here.
4-game losing streak. But Ferg, like, what has made Auburn so freaking good this year? They seem like a veteran group. Janai Broom is just unbelievable. But what's made them so? I mean, they seem invincible at times.
Yeah, no, this was Bruce Pearl like going all in on experience this year. This is the last, as you know, same thing in college football. It's the last of the COVID kids, basically. So you got several 5th-year seniors, guys who know this program inside and out. And so the bulk of this team's played together. And then Pearl went and added more experience in the portal. He added probably his best 3-point shooter he's had since Bryce Brown, which is Miles Kelly from Georgia Tech. He's a guy who's a 4th-year senior. And then he's got a couple of freshmen, especially one in particular, a 5-star that he's just turned in and said, "Hey, pressure's off on you. You don't have to like go in and be the guy. You've got all these other dudes around you to help you out, and just turn them loose." And so this team is just it's the chemistry. It's a very together team that learned a lot from these last couple of seasons. And they made a couple of really good roster moves and have just been able to pick up where they left off. Because last year's team was analytically awesome. Obviously fell short in the tournament. This team's kind of upgraded from where they kind of hurt a little bit last season, and it's remarkable. But it goes back to Bruce going all in on experience.
Yeah, I remember last year watching them. It seemed like they either blew everybody out or they lost close games. Yep. This year, they're doing both. They're winning the close games, which is the sign of a veteran team. They've learned from those mistakes and everything from last year. And then, of course, they're blowing a lot of people out, winning by double digits quite a bit, and even on the road against some very tough teams.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you this. I'm watching them on TV. Does it seem like whenever Auburn goes on the road now, like it's one of the loudest environments on the road for that road team, that team?
Oh, yeah.
This season?
Oh, yeah.
It's incredible. It's almost like Auburn's turned into Kentucky when they hit the road now.
Yeah, no, I mean, and there's some teams that they go to South Carolina. Mary Kate went with South Carolina when Auburn played at South Carolina a couple of weeks ago, and that they're not having a great year. And so Auburn fans, that's a big arena, but it's like, it's the Bruce Pearl effect of he's talked about it a lot. If Neville Arena seats 9,000 fans. If you want tickets, good luck. You're better off trying to go on the road. And so what you get is you get this really fun atmosphere where folks go on the road and are loud. And that just makes the home crowd usually even louder and more intense. Like the Ole Miss game this past Saturday. I've been to some Ole Miss games where there have been more Auburn fans than Ole Miss fans in there. I mean, it was loud. It was hostile. And, they've got that kind of effect. Kentucky. They also have that kind of like when Billy Donovan brought his Gators around where people were like, we're coming for your, because they're the number 1 team in the country. And it's just, they get that vibe. But Mary Kay can speak to it because she's been to quite a few road games this year.
We went to South Carolina, and that one was probably about 50-50 fan wise. Georgia, though, was like 10% Auburn.
Yeah, Georgia's having a good year.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to chase them.
Yeah, and it was like every time we would try to start a chant, we'd either get booed or like they would start one back and you kind of like drowned it out. And that one, I remember that one more than South Carolina because that arena was pretty empty.
Pretty empty, yeah. But I mean, they have that.
Packed. It was packed.
They have that, and when you're the number 1 team in the country, the price on your head's huge, and so a win over Auburn means so much to these teams if they could get it. So I mean, it just everything gets turned up to 11 whenever Auburn's in the building, which is crazy to think about because for most of its
Yeah.
history, no one really cared about Auburn coming to their town.
I mean, it's insane. Like they're 20-1. They've got how many quad one wins? 11 right now.
Yeah, it's like it's 11 or 12. Yeah, one of them just dropped back down, but they're
Oh, really?
poised to smash the record.
I was gonna say, what is the record? That's got to be a
So for
record
the
almost.
SEC teams, it's 14. I think overall it's like 17 or 18. And
Okay.
like pretty much every game from here on out, like is going to be a quad one game because of how good the SEC is. And
Mhm.
like I think Auburn was one of the first to be like, all right, we're not that good at basketball, but we can be good. You know, Bruce Pearl and the investment there. And now you see it everywhere. Like you've seen some places where like I think Ole Miss is a great example where
Yeah.
they've kind of tried to follow the Auburn blueprint and they've got a really, really good team where it used to be you could go to Ole Miss and not expect a tough game. Now it's, you know, they're a top 20 team and they're coming for your throat as soon as the game tips off.
You don't have to raise your hand.
He was on one. I don't want to interrupt. What is a quad one? What does quad one mean?
Those
Hello.
are the I haven't covered basketball forever. That's a top how many teams in the net
Yeah,
rankings?
so the NCAA has this like what used to be the RPI where they just use it to rank teams.
Okay.
Big mathematical formula.
Yes.
And what a quad one game is if you beat a top 30 team at home, a top 50 team in a neutral site, or a top 70 on the road, that's the most valuable win you can get.
Oh,
That's a quad one. And to show you how crazy it was for Auburn last season, Auburn had one quad one win in the regular season last year. And they are at 12, 13, 14, you know, right now with 10 games left in the regular season. They scheduled crazy this year because Pearl thought they had a team that could compete, and it paid off. And of course, the SEC is just as good as it's ever been.
Yeah, it seemed like around the holidays, like every time I turned around, I was like, Auburn's playing a top 5 team. They just beat
Yeah.
Iowa State. That was a lot of people thought was number one, might be number one at the time. Did you go to Duke? Do you go to Cameron Indoor?
We went to Cameron. It was a ton of fun. You know, it's the only game Auburn saw.
Auburn's only lost this year.
Yeah, and that lived up to the hype. I mean, that is the most insane play. Like when they tell you you get courtside seats for visiting media, but you were right in front of the crazies. And so I had college kids like literally kneeing me in the back of the head all game. Like that, it's they're that close
That was
on you.
my face to it, man.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
did not sound like a good time for
There
cheerleaders.
was a shot like there was a shot like they were coming back from a commercial or coming into a commercial, and you can see like they're like panning down in the crowd, like all that, and you can see my face, and I'm just like my head just jerks forward, like in the middle, like in slow mo, like when they were going crazy. So yeah, I went to Duke, went to that, and then I know Mary Kate's going to chime in. Auburn played in Maui this year, where they played
Yeah.
Iowa State, North Carolina, and Memphis to win it. And yeah, she went. We went for
I
that.
did not go by myself.
Yes.
It's such a
That was
hard
a weed
burden.
thing.
Such a hard burden to bear
Oh,
when you.
God.
Oh,
have
you know,
travel
yeah,
to Orlando. It's just
absolutely.
somebody has to go and cover
Somebody
it.
has to go.
Somebody
And
has
I was
go.
happy to
Needs the
volunteer.
support. Yeah,
Yeah.
somebody has to go.
I heard watching basketball in that gym's pretty cool.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's like the caliber of the game that you get is like the NCAA tournament game because these
Yeah.
really high calorie, and you're literally it's a high school gym. Like it is a literal high school basketball gym, and so you are right on top of everything. And so it's such a tough ticket, and it's one of those like bucket list things for
Yeah.
basketball fans. And I really really hope that in the future the Maui can be competitive because everybody's going to these NIL tournaments now. Like Auburn just announced they're going to play the next 3 years at the big one in Vegas.
Oh yeah,
that's going to be there.
Yeah, Alabama just played in that this year, right?
Yep, Tennessee's joining up in that too.
What's
I
the
hope
NIL
though.
tournament?
The tournament's paying the players to
Yeah.
play in these
Like if
games.
you win, you get the max prize money, and the kids get the money instead of going to the school.
So the teams go together. It's not like they're building teams. Like
No, it's just
Yeah.
it's on the
like a Pro
schedule,
Bowl
and then
thing.
like if you win it, you get more money for the players.
Yep.
That's a
Yeah.
pretty great idea.
Okay.
And I hope the old like classic tournaments like the Maui are able to do stuff like that in the future
Yeah.
because it's such a cool venue, and I hope that still goes around instead of just these as cool as the Vegas tournament is. You don't want it to be the only game in town.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So Cameron Indoor, is it louder than Auburn?
it's pretty equal. I mean, I will
Yeah.
say, and it's the same kind of setup where it's
And I
like,
know people are going to watch this and think that's crazy, but like if you've never been to an Auburn basketball game, it's the loudest 9,000 seat
yeah,
arena I've
I
ever been
mean,
in. It
and
is,
It's
last
only
week,
9,000.
yeah, but it's
yeah,
all on
9,000.
top of you.
yeah.
It's
Yes,
everything's on top
everything's
of
right
you.
on top of you, and Duke's probably even tighter,
Yeah.
especially with the student section. And it's super loud, and it's the kind of the same. It's the kind of like you have to be a diehard if you're in the building because you
Yeah.
know it's hard to get casual people to want to pay. I mean, they play Florida this weekend, and I
Ooh.
think we checked last night. The get in price was like 650 just to get in, just to
Yeah.
stand in the standing room out there. So yeah, I mean it's intense and yeah, like last Saturday,
Yeah.
Auburn plays Tennessee, wins it on a late three with 30
Man.
seconds left. That three goes down and it sounded like a tornado had gone through. I mean, it was deafening and it's really really cool. Like when they built Neville, they never thought they were going to be actually good. So I mean, Auburn could easily get 15,000 people or
Oh
more
yeah.
in their stadium, but like they just don't have that. And so it just
Yeah.
becomes this like, hey, if you're in here, you better go nuts because there's a lot of people in here, a lot of people who would die to be right here right now.
Wow.
Yeah, I wanted to get to this. We talked about the Bruce Pearl effect. I think that's legit. I
Oh, yeah.
mean, because I mean, you obviously have been there, and I was there when he first got there, and just his charisma and how much he just
Mhm.
actually cares about basketball, but also players and fans and outreach and making connections. I mean, I still text with Bruce time to time, going, "Hey, congrats, man!" And he hasn't texted me back in a few months, but he's busy. But the thing is, it's like he just it's incredible how much of like human he is. Like he doesn't forget people. And that connects with the fans. And then when you start winning, you honestly like feel like as a fan, I'm sure you feel like you're actually part of it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's
Yeah.
different from a lot of programs, and especially in a school like Auburn where it's so football obsessed that he's been able to tap into that. And in many ways, I think from the outside looking in, he's made that basketball fan base so much more rabid on game days than the
Hmm.
football fan base.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you mentioned the traveling. I mean, I guess the last season I covered was 19. Yeah, 19, the Final Four year.
Yeah.
And the amount of fans that would travel, even to the NCAA tournament games, all the way in Salt Lake City and all this stuff, I was like blown away by
Yeah.
that. And that was all. It wasn't just the winning; it was Bruce. I,
Yeah.
I I honestly think like if even if Auburn was winning the way it is right now, I don't know if the fan base would be as rabid without someone like Bruce.
No, and it's the buy-in, it's the connection he has to people. I mean, Mary Kate, you can probably speak this as well. We're down in Maui, and it's all these different fan bases are there, and very close quarters with the resorts and all that. And I remember we were sitting at dinner next to a couple who were Memphis boosters, and a couple of Auburn players walked by, like walk-ons walked by, and they started talking to him. He's like, "Man, we love Bruce Pearl. He came over and talked to us for like 20 minutes. We're Memphis fans." And like,
Yeah,
he's like, and that's awesome. He's like, we never really get that from our coach, or none of our old coaches would do that. And it's that connection, that fan base. Like Bruce Pearl is who he is. Like
yeah,
in every aspect of his life. He's very unapologetic about who he is, and like people buy into that because it's genuine. A lot of basketball coaches, a lot of coaches in general, can put on a front and can be
yeah.
can be fake. It's just
And
there's
it's
something
so
real.
easy to see through it nowadays. It's so much easier for people to see through it.
Correct,
And
100%.
it starts like it's with Bruce, but like the staff is that way.
Yeah,
The team is that way. Like the players are still going out and taking selfies with kids
Hmm.
after they just played a top five game. Like,
Always liked that about Bruce. I remember when he first got there, I'm sure they still do it, but he would make the players go out into like the hallway and meet
yeah,
fans as they were walking out of the arena
yeah.
in his first couple of seasons.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
still do. They still do that. I mean, and when you may remember this from when we covered when you covered Auburn basketball. Like practices are open, and
Yeah.
like an average
Still?
fan can, yeah, and an average fan can come, and an average fan can usually have to get an invite if you're a fan, but sometimes you'll walk up, hey, I'm in the neighborhood, I was on campus, just sit, and after practice, they're signing autographs, they're talking like
Yeah.
they know how, and they feed off of it, right? You talk about how great the home court advantages at Auburn. It's so loud and so nuts. And like this basketball team, like what another thing that makes this team different, I think, than some of the others that Bruce has had is that they've got so many personalities and they love playing to the crowd. They are
Yeah.
big on they're big energy guys. Janai, Chad Baker Mazzara, Dylan Carwell especially. Like they play up to it, and it is a secret weapon for them.
Yeah, I would say like maybe the most fun I've ever had as a reporter was covering that SEC tournament and NCAA tournament run in 19.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like getting to know the kids and being in the locker room after all those games and watching them. There's nothing better than being around happy people. And especially when they're just like goofing around and you're seeing, and then you sit there and you remember, you go, you know what? These are kids still. They're still
Yeah.
kids. And it's fun watching them. And that NCAA tournament run, when they beat the three bluest of blue bloods, winningest programs in
Yeah.
college basketball history in a row to reach the Final Four, including Kentucky. And I mean, and yet all these storylines, of course, was it the Sweet 16 or Elite 8? Chumo Kiki went down with the
Sweet
knee
16, yeah.
injury.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, and you're just like, oh man, how are they even going to win the next game? And then they end up beating Kentucky anyway. And then I won't get into it, but
The UVA.
they would have beaten. They should have beaten
But
Virginia.
and stop.
Correct.
Stupid phantom foul call at the end and not calling a double dribble.
I even remember that.
Yeah,
I even remember that. That was
I do too because I couldn't quite see it, and people were getting on me for Twitter. It's like I don't know what happened.
Yeah, no, you couldn't see in there. Yeah.
So anyway, but it's incredible to watch all this. Can they keep it going? Because as you mentioned, I was looking at the schedule. Man, the schedule
Yeah.
is rough down the stretch here, and Alabama's right there.
Right.
I still really like Tennessee.
Mhm.
I mean, I think anybody in this league, I think, other than maybe three programs, just from the casual observer, can probably beat anybody, right?
Absolutely. And for Auburn, I think the big thing is that they're so battle tested, right? They played this brutal non-conference schedule. Like that's the other crazy thing about this team. They're the only team, as of when we were recording this on Tuesday, they're the only team in the country that hasn't lost multiple games yet. They've also played the toughest schedule in college basketball.
Yeah.
Like usually that doesn't line up. And so they're battle test like and they treat every game like, when you're very veteran, so much continuity on your team, so much continuity on the coaching staff, like Bruce's assistants have stayed around for a while. They have a rhythm that it's like, hey, we know every single game it's going to be a fight, and like so they're locked in on the scouting report. They practice like they game plan for each individual. When you're as balanced and as effective as they are, it's not like, oh, in years past, it's like Auburn. If Auburn's going to beat you, they're going to beat you their way. This year, I mean, the best example is 2 weeks ago, they play an ugly, scrape it out game against Tennessee, a game that Tennessee usually likes to play. They win that one, and then they go to Ole Miss and score 92 on the road. Like, they're
like one of the top defenses in the country too.
Yeah. And so it's just, I mean, they have that ability to blend. This is the best team in the country. This is one of the best teams in like the analytics era of college basketball. So they can't keep it up, but man, I mean, the schedule just makes it really, really tough. Like it's whoever's going to win the SEC this year is going to absolutely earn it. And Auburn at the halfway points in the driver's seat.
That was one of my favorite things, covering them during tournament time, was finding out which coach was in charge of what scouting.
Yeah.
And I'd always loved doing that. Like, and I found out Stephen Pearl was doing something, and I was like trying to get him. I was like, can I just sit next to you during this game and watch what you're doing? And he's like, no. But I appreciate that. But I will talk to you later about things I noticed, and maybe you can write a story after we play them.
Will he ever follow up and talk to you?
Yeah, he did after they won the game, and he told me
he was
everything he
great
went into. And I mean, all those guys were great. Real quick, and then I want to change subjects. I'm forgetting his name, Mike, the assistant.
Burgo.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard so many great things about him just as far as designing plays and stuff. Why is he not a head coach? Is someone going to pick him up and go, this guy is like the secret sauce behind the scenes?
He's the next man up, I think, on that stuff. Obviously when you were around here, like Todd Golden was the wonder kid on this staff, and obviously he was at Florida now and has had a great head coaching career. I mean, and Bruce has said it a few times this year where he's like, as long as I'm here, I'm going to do whatever it takes to keep him here, because he's the guy that last season Auburn has this really awesome offense, and they play their first game against Baylor and run this brand new scheme, and they lose, but it was super high scoring, and they were like, what, it was like, what went into that? And Mike Burgermaster, the assistant, he's like, Bruce goes, yeah, he was watching Euro basketball film all summer and said, we can do this. And so he pulls from all these different influences, and it's very rare. He's the offensive coordinator, like literally his title is offensive coordinator. Steven is the defensive coordinator, and Bruce is like, I'm at a football school. I might as well, call my coaches like this because that's kind of the setup they have there. And yeah, he's definitely gonna be the next man up, I think, on this staff. And as long as Bruce Pearl's here, he's gonna try to pay him whatever it takes to keep him here.
What game was it here recently where I saw the quote? I saw you tweet it out. Bruce is great. We said he drew up a play on the sideline, and
Yes.
someone goes, "What are we going to call it?" And what did Bruce say? You don't have to say cuss, but it was a cuss
Yeah.
word. What did he say exactly?
Yeah, no. So yeah, he called up a play, and Dylan Carwell goes over, and he's like, "Coach, like, what is this play call?" And he's like, "Dylan, I'm just drawing up some blank on here on the side. Like, just go. Like, this is just what we're doing." And that's another thing Bruce said. This was the Ole Miss game last Saturday, and he goes like, "That's the thing is like you got to keep it light and loose with these guys. They've got so much pressure. This is such a tough schedule." And at the end of the way, there's like, hey, you're not going to play good basketball if you're so uptight. And I mean, Mary Kate's watched these guys up close just as much as I have probably this season. It's just like this team, like pressure does not bother them at all. They're goofing off in a 1 point game with a minute and a half left, and that's just it's very different, very very different.
Yeah,
makes me happy. I don't know why.
They're so fun.
They love
you
it.
would
They're
love
having a
them,
good time.
Amanda. Like you would love
I just
them.
want everybody to have a good time out there.
Yeah.
That makes me happy.
yeah. I'm the same way. Like I'm telling you, it's like the most fun I ever had. Really, was covering that team when Bruce had him. He's had them rolling. All right. How many more years is Bruce coaching? You think?
I don't know.
At
I mean,
Auburn or in general?
it's one of those things.
I think he'll stay at Auburn forever. I don't think.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like I think I could see him being like, if they go out with a title or win a national championship, he could wrap it up. This is the best chance they probably will have a one. But yeah, I mean, like he could do this long term, but I also think he knows that like there's something he's built here that he wants to hand it off to the next, and also he's a guy that I think is once he gets done coaching, he's going to have his hands in a lot of different stuff, and he doesn't want to be 90 years old doing that, So it'll be very interesting.
Is Auburn going to build a statue for him, you think?
They should, or name the court after him. That's the big one a lot of people have talked about, is just like, kind of like how Kay got the court named after him at Cameron. Like, that's probably the best way to do it. He always had that joke, and I think this was around when you were here. He had that joke where he's like, I don't need anything. I don't want it. I don't want anything named after me. But I don't think he's gonna be able to get it held off when this is done.
Yeah.
If they make a run for the national championship, we're going to mail a roll of toilet paper with Marcello written on it, and y'all just go throw it for us.
It'll be fun.
Seriously.
I was speaking at a class at the U of A today, and they were talking about Toomer's Corner and, the history behind it and everything. And I was telling about, like, my first interaction with it was, like, the last month the old Oaks were still there.
Yeah.
I remember, like, the rolling, I think it was on the spring game, and just being like, everybody makes fun of this, but like this is freaking beautiful. It's like snow.
Jackson was in a stroller still, and it was the first time they'd rolled it since I kind of came to post birth and motherhood out of the fog. You were doing something maybe on campus. I don't know where you were, but I was like, I'm gonna roll it.
It was NCAA tournament.
Oh yeah.
It was one of the games after when you said I'm gonna go there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just rolled him down there, and even he, not even a year old, he was just looking up like.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And to go off that point, it's like, like it's big for football, obviously, but now it's like basketball wins. Like it's just as wild down there as it is when they win an SEC game of football.
I still pull up the Toomer's Corner live cam.
I do too.
I love it.
I miss it after big wins and stuff. I pull it up too.
Watching that rush, just
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
So Mary Kate.
Yeah.
What's it like being married to a cursed sports reporter?
Oh gosh, do we need to have a side chat?
I mean, I'm still pretty new to it, so like I think like the worst parts, and I use quotes because like nothing's truly bad, but like it kind of stunk. Like he was on the road for 5 straight days, and I was kind of like,
I was going all last week.
It worked out that I actually had to go. Yeah, and so like that, my grandfather used that same terminology. I'm like, what are you talking about? So I'm gonna have to tell him that you said it too.
Yeah, you're a sports.
But like. It worked out because I actually had to go stay with my parents because it was my dad's birthday. So like that actually kind of worked out. But like it's not always gonna be that way. It's like that part kind of stinks. But I mean, we live like 5 minutes from campus. So it's not, I feel like he's here more often than people probably thought he was going to be. But he does work some super late nights.
Yeah.
Like tonight will be late because the game's not till 8. So like
8 o'clock, freaking SEC.
Yeah. So he'll
I hate it
probably
so
That's
much.
what we'll do tonight
get done
after
at like
nighttime.
3.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's the thing, man. As you get older, Ferg, like I absolutely loathe leaving the house now. Like I do not want to travel. I mean, I love doing it and working once I get there, but like any moment where there's not something being said to me and I'm on the road, I'm immediately like, I want to go home.
You'll be walking out of the conference texting me like, I'm looking at flights. I don't care what it costs to get home. I'm coming home tonight. And I'm like, just chill in the hotel.
I'm sure that feeling only got worse when you had a little dude running around.
Yeah.
Well,
Absolutely.
definitely.
And I'm like, okay, you fly up and I'll fly to the hotel. I'll take a break.
You gotta
Great spots. Yeah, we'll swap midair.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I'm coming home tonight. And I'm like, okay, we don't have $1,500 to
No.
blow on,
Still, I
a,
don't
on
care.
a plane ticket. And he's like, I'm coming home. I'm like, stop.
I think what has really helped also with us is that, she works from home. She works remotely. Her job allows her to work from home. And so like there have been times like during basketball season and other times where it's just like, hey, you can come on the road when it's in COVID. And so that's helped a lot because especially during basketball season, it gets really tough at times where you're just like, all right, I'm going to be gone for this whole week. Like, and that's tough, but like we've been able to kind of make it work with, going on some of these trips together, and it's a whole lot of fun.
And one of the first things when we first started dating back in the day, he was like, one of the biggest perks about you is like you've done this.
Yeah.
So like, none of this is kind of a shock to you. You've kind of
She was forged in the fires of working with Brandon Marcello at Auburn undercover, so she knows how crazy I am. She knows
3 a.m. to get this done.
Do our stand-up videos. I'm like, yeah, in a minute.
They just turn the lights off,
90 minutes later. Okay, you ready?
Yeah. It was helpful.
Let her go home at some point. You know that, right? And he's like, we're not done. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. So like that, I mean, I did kind of have a decent idea of what like his work was gonna look
Doesn't
like.
make it any like
It's
better.
it
still sucks, but at least you kind of.
And also, I mean, you're a sports fan too, like on your own account, and that's kind of what helped me too. I'm not like a super fan, but I kind of, like, well, it's for the greater good of the sports fan. Like the people need to know the info, right? So.
Yeah, and like you can probably get more of this too, but like I get so frustrated whenever we're like out and about or like with people and like all they want to talk to him about is what's going on with sports. And I'm like, do y'all know how much more there is to my husband than like Auburn athletics? Like, like this is a human.
Me and Brandon are sitting here thinking like, we're not that much more than
it drives me up the wall. Like I've told my family, I don't know if you've ever done this. I've told my family, especially my aunt and my grandfather, you have 3 questions. Choose wisely. Like we're not sitting here.
They're big Auburn super.
We're not sitting for an hour talking about Auburn. It's not that deep. It's really not.
I don't mind. She definitely minds more than I do.
Yeah.
Hey, I can't do it. It just makes me so mad. And so like that's honestly probably my biggest stick with his job is like there's so much more to him than his job.
I can understand that because like I don't think that's why I have friends. It's just because when people I get tired of it and I just shut down. I just sit here and and it's I don't know. Also, I'm a nerd. No one's a nerd. Like
they're nerds, but they're not into your nerdy
stuff. I got a RoboCop helmet behind me.
He's a niche nerd.
That's the thing.
Pretty sick helmet though. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that's the thing. Sick. That's the thing though with Brandon is it's like helmet. Yeah, he's got a lot of really cool interests that other people don't have, and even among us, it would be like. Yeah, because it's
like okay, Brandon, go do your thing.
Well, you like your Batman.
Well, it's like you understand like even among like beat writers or like sports writers, it's like we have to find things that aren't directly related to our job, or we will go insane. Yeah. Like it just I you have to have that, and so always important.
Well, Ferg, I'll say this: like I'm extremely proud of you and what you've been able to do. We say carving out niches, but like you've like done something that like no one really has done on that beat. And for that matter, I can't really think of anybody like in the SEC that has their own like independent blog. I say blog. I sound like a 40-year-old, which I am. An independent publication that
Yeah.
goes as deep as you do, but also it just seems like there a lot of people support it, and obviously they do. Otherwise, you still wouldn't be doing what you're doing. And
Yeah.
it's amazing to me that you're able to do it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, you answer to yourself, and it allows so much freedom for you to be able to write. And every time there's a game, and you've got, I love reading your stuff because you go deep in the numbers, but also it's just so easy to read. And there's
Mhm.
anecdotals. I love anecdotes. I just
Yeah.
love it. It's good stuff, man. And I'm
No,
super proud of you.
I appreciate it, and yeah, I mean, some people who know me and Brandon, like I wouldn't have even had a job on the beat to begin with if it wasn't for Brandon. Brandon
We
twice,
possibly don't exist without Brandon. Like we'll go like that deep. So
twice. There were two different times where Brandon moved jobs, and that opened the door for me to get a job on a beat in the Auburn beat. And so,
Oh yeah, I guess
yeah,
so. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean,
I never really thought about that. Yeah.
yeah, it's really really it's been
He's
really
been
cool.
pushing me out of jobs to get jobs. That's what he's been doing.
Settle down.
Well, the good news is your job, the national game. That's all you, baby. I'm here. I'm here. I'm
Yeah.
playing it.
Yeah. Well, it's got its pluses and minuses. A lot of
Oh,
pluses.
for
so
sure.
yeah.
Because it's just, as local beat people, we'd always hate it when the national guys would
let's
parachute
talk about
in
that.
and they get one-on-ones and everything. But I tell you what, Ferg, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah,
When you get that.
I'm not surprised at that at all. Yeah, no.
Sometimes it works. Sometimes they don't want to. And also, I learned a lot. Sometimes these guys parachute in, being told they're going to get a one-on-one or something, and they get there and they spend all that money, and then they don't.
Yeah.
Or they get in there and they get like 3 minutes with someone, and it's just like, oh no.
Brutal.
And you're like, and you're sitting there going, what was I complaining about as a beat guy? I had it good, But every job's got its positives and negatives. So, will you travel throughout the NCAA tournament and everything?
Yeah, so
Wow.
this is my second year in a row for basketball where I have been to every game, and I've been to almost every practice.
I would say not many beat reporters these days travel for basketball,
Right.
as far as I've noticed, and you go everywhere.
Yeah, I try to at least, and that's the thing. It goes back to just answering to yourself that
Yeah.
I've been very, very fortunate that, we have as many paid subscribers as we do the Observer. So it's never been a panic, it's never been like oh, I can't go cover this game because I'm not going to have this. And it kind of hit me a couple years ago with Auburn basketball where it's like, no intended disrespect to Auburn football, but like it's okay. This basketball program is the premier program on campus right now, the way in their way they're performing. And I'm like, okay, even though football is the traditional powerhouse, I feel like basketball deserves that level of coverage and that level of spotlight. And it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Bruce Pearl, his staff, his players, they're so fun to cover. They're so accessible. They're so gracious with their time. It's made it easy. And yeah, I mean, so Auburn football had an off week towards the end of the season this year. That Saturday Auburn basketball goes and plays Houston, first week of the season.
Oh yeah.
And incredible game, like Final Four level game. And I write my story and I put it out there and I thought, oh, yeah, this is a really good story. I'm glad I made it to this game. And that story had the most subscribers added and the most views I've ever had in the history of the Observer, which I've been doing this 5, 6 years now. And I was like, that where it was like the light went off in my head. I was like, bingo, we got it. Like I would love business wise, I would love for Auburn football to get back to being a championship caliber team like it was when I first started out. But the good news is that you have the number one team in the country right down the road and they're as accessible as ever. So I try to put that effort and put that intensity into it, just like I'm covering football, because I think they're good enough and kind of deserve it.
Yeah, I always tell everybody. I mean, everybody always asks for guidance. I think we always do. Other reporters, I do too. Like, what would you do, whatever. And whenever someone asks me, I go, listen, I'm not going to tell you because I don't know. You do it different ways, but the only thing I will tell you is just show up.
Yep.
Like everywhere you can go, just show up. Even if
It
you
matters.
don't talk to anybody, them just seeing your face opens
Correct.
doors, and you never know what it'll lead. Just show up.
Yeah.
And you show up.
Last season, Auburn basketball opened the year in South Dakota. And I walked into their practice the day before they played. I walked into practice and Bruce Pearl looked at me and was like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "Bruce, I think your team's gonna be very good this year." And I also have never been to South Dakota before, so that's two birds with one stone. Check it off the 50 state list. So.
Like flew halfway across the world this year.
Yeah,
practically.
Yeah. The Maui trip. I mean,
that was
real quick sidebar here. And so we got married in June, and we went to. I mean, you guys know the story. We go to Jamaica and a Category 5 hurricane hits. We were fine.
Stressing.
We were fine.
Like,
we were safe.
Have you heard from her?
I was like, I'm not going to bother him too much, but I was worried.
Yeah, no, it was.
My parents were getting texts from everybody like every hour. They're like, "Have you heard anything? Have you heard anything?"
So it kind of. We had a couple of days in Jamaica where it was great, and then the hurricane hit, and then afterwards it was kind of all right. We got to get home, and so we kind of didn't have a full honeymoon. So it was like when we got back, I was like, "We're going to Maui. Sorry, like we're just gonna have to. We'll save. We got move some money around. We're gonna go to Maui. Both of us are gonna go, and yeah, it was incredible.
Going without me. I love if he said like both of us are gonna go. That's what were we like 4 months into marriage? If you would have left me to go to Hawaii,
Oh, yeah.
No,
it wasn't gonna work. Thanksgiving week. That was the other thing too.
That's right.
Yeah.
That was
Mary
not
Kate.
happening.
Mary Kate, do you still have the confetti?
Yeah,
that I gave you?
it's in our guest bedroom. Yeah,
Okay.
I still have all of that. It's
sitting in the Auburn room. Yeah.
jar.
Yeah. Was that SEC tournament championship, or was
That was SEC tournament and the Elite Eight.
Wow.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. That's right.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, that's what that is. Yeah,
Okay,
I got some over there too.
Yeah, we have some too.
Along with my Chris Davis signed photograph over there. Some other things.
There's some other nerdy stuff that we won't talk about.
See, yeah. See, everybody. Here's the thing. Like everybody says, not everybody, but people say I hate Auburn, but I loved it.
We loved Auburn.
We love Auburn.
I still root for Auburn.
Yeah,
I didn't know they were good at basketball.
I mean, I went
That's on me, though.
I went to Arkansas, and I went to an Arkansas basketball game wearing Auburn gear.
Yeah.
Correct. And folks, he's not just
graduated
making
from
that up. I can
Arkansas.
confirm that happened.
Yeah. I graduated from Arkansas, and I went into Bud Walton Arena wearing an Auburn shirt.
Yeah.
It's
And
a special place.
Yeah, and when Arkansas won, we were like, let's get out of here quickly before we get yelled at.
I
And
should have
everybody-
worn an Arkansas shirt underneath just in case, so I could celebrate a little bit on the way out.
Seems like
Guilty.
every time we do that, like we went to a playoff game, Packers Falcons, wearing
Oh,
Packers
yeah.
gear, and the Falcons just drilled them. And I
they
took
were so mean to me on the way out.
well. Here's what you should have done. I took my Packers shirt off as we were walking out. Like I'm not going through this.
You ain't bothering me.
But she couldn't.
I didn't have a shirt on underneath. It was the shirt.
Yeah, and she was getting it.
It would have been like a Carrie Bradshaw situation. Nothing on, nothing. Just in public indecency. I couldn't have done it.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is.
They cussed me out.
Yeah. Well, welcome to my world.
Yeah.
Exactly. Listen, I made some Ohio State fans mad a couple weeks ago. I learned that
they're such a lovely bunch.
I could never be a sports reporter because I got like 100 hate comments, and I was like, I'm quitting this podcast.
I'm just a girl.
I'm just a girl on the internet.
That's my favorite thing to say. I'm just a girl.
Just a girl.
You've been wanting to do some version of this for years. We finally did it.
Yeah, and then like 2 episodes in, they were like, "You stupid beep."
Yeah. I was gonna ask you how you're enjoying doing this podcast, because I've had a couple of people on my podcast. I've had fans. I even had ones come up to me at Ole Miss this past weekend and was like, "Hey, you should have your wife on the podcast." Because I talk about her, and she's got the sports background and the radio background, and it's like, "Oh, you should do that." And I tell her, and she's like, "No one wants to listen to me." I was like, "You would be surprised." And then we get the text from you guys, and I'm like, "Well, they literally do it." So
we're doing it. Yeah, do it.
Yeah, we're just starting
fun.
off, and people are listening and watching it or whatever, but like, it's no question is a dumb question, obviously, but like you ask questions to me about stuff that I'm covering, I'm all like, I've never thought of that way, and then I go, it brings up an interesting conversation that like, it's I think it's perfect like avenue for you, because it's like I don't talk about work with her very often anymore, but like, so this is the safe space to talk about it. All she knows is that I'm on my phone a lot or up here.
Yeah.
Texting people and calling people.
I mean, I have questions, but I know you don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, but a lot of it's just boring. It's like, I texted 65 people today, 10 got back with me, and no one said anything.
Cool.
Let's eat dinner.
Yeah.
You know, what a great conversation we just had in live real time with Mary Kate and Justin Ferguson.
It was good to talk to them.
Yeah, it's good to talk to him. You don't really get to talk to people. I feel like I'm going to bother someone, but man, I'm so proud of Justin Ferguson and what he's done. He's like, it's incredible, like how great of a writer and reporter he is, and he does things differently from others. Yep. We need more of that in the industry, and I'm so glad that people have caught on there. I mean, it's uber popular.
Yeah.
Down in Auburn. So very proud for him, and they hinted at it. I do think I kind of helped make that connection between Mary Kate and Ferg.
You definitely did. You've told me about it, and she's told me about it.
I was pushing Mary Kate. I was like, you should ask him out.
Yeah.
And she kind of did once. I'm not going to get into it. And then here they are. They're married.
They're married. The kids got married.
The kids got married. That's great.
So proud.
Yeah, it's great. Okay.
We love love.
We do love love. We're going to do first and tea?
Let's do first and tea.
What you got, girl?
You know what? I just spent January dissociating. I dissociated hard. I just read 10 books. 10.
I don't know if I've read 10 books in the last 10 years.
I did a mix of physical books, audiobooks, and books on my Kindle.
Wow. What'd you read?
Yeah.
Dragons?
I read some Dragons. Onyx Storm. That was one of my 5-star reads. I loved it. It's not for everybody. And what I like to say, people say, oh, was it good? I never said it was good. I said I liked it. So if you read a book that I like, don't come for me and say, I hated that book. I never said it was good. I said I liked it. You decide whether it's good for you.
Okay.
I like it.
Okay.
I read several books. I read the one that I finished today was called High Conflict. It's like a psychology, nerdy kind of book. It's really not really for anybody else. I did read one by Sharon McMahon called The Small and the Mighty. And it was like a historical stories about people through history that have made a big impact on things that you may not have heard their stories before. And it was really lovely. I really loved that book. If I could just crawl up inside of it and live there, I would, because the stories were great and inspiring. And I kind of needed a little bit of that as I just white knuckle my way through the last bit of winter.
Oh boy. Okay.
I need warm weather. I need to get outside. I need to go on walks with Daisy. I need to get out.
Daisy's a perfect dog, by the way. It's our dog.
Oh, she's amazing.
Little Labrador Jack Russell mix, apparently.
Who knows?
She's allegedly, according to the.
She's a mutt.
Yeah, she's a mutt. It was great. She's great though.
Yeah.
I want one more snow, and then I want the spring.
We might have one.
Yeah, I'm hoping for it. I want one more snow.
Yeah.
One more.
Well, we are in false spring in Arkansas.
False spring. A lot of people are going through that right now.
Yeah.
You read any sexy time books?
Yeah, I read 2. They were mid. It was a duology. So there was the one and then the sequel. The first one was good. The second one tried too hard to be what the first one was, and so I didn't care for that. And I'm not going to name names here because I don't want to put anybody on blast. Again, what I love, you might not. I'm not going to put that author on blast. It just wasn't for me.
Okay.
So, yeah, that was my reading journey. It was well for my books. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl coming up Sunday. We'll talk about it more next week. Maybe.
I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk about the sports of it all.
Okay. What do you want to talk about? Let me guess.
I want to be brave.
Let me guess.
I want to be brave.
Let me guess.
And dip a toe into the Taylor Swift of it all.
Yeah. 0 for 6 at the Grammys.
I don't even care about that. Because here's the thing, I'm not a Swiftie. I've enjoyed her music from time to time. It's fine. Again, I'm not going to if you love it, that's great. Like what you like. Do the things that make you happy.
Yeah.
I like that it's bringing more women into the sport.
Certainly, yeah.
It's
awesome.
bringing more attention to the sport. And people have talked about this ad nauseum, so I'm not going to add a whole lot more to it. I'm still excited that she's bringing more fans into the sport. She's bringing little girls are excited to sit down and watch games with their dads. Girlfriends are excited to watch games with their boyfriends. It's bringing people together, shared interests, and I think that's great. And I would just like to say, if you're somebody who gets irritated about the coverage that she receives when she's at these games, it's typically less than a minute of camera time.
I was going to say,
I looked it up.
Watching the championship game between the Chiefs and Bills, like I barely recall seeing her on the broadcast.
So nominal.
In fact, I was sitting there going, is she even at the game?
I think I
saw her twice at least. But it's like, why are people complaining about this? Like she's barely shown on.
I think it's less this season because
the novelty of it's kind of worn off.
The novelty's worn off. I think the first season people thought it was still a PR relationship.
Yeah, and people are going, well, here in a few weeks we're going to find out that she's performing at the Super Bowl.
Right.
Yeah.
She's not.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about that in just a second.
Okay.
Anyway, just let her be there. She's there. She's supporting her boyfriend, maybe soon fiance.
Is that going to be a thing? Are they actually going to do that?
I don't know.
Everybody was like,
I'm not Travis. I don't know.
Everybody was like throwing that rumor around last year.
Yeah. Well,
a year
I
later,
don't know.
it still hasn't been.
Listen, who knows? Love has its own timeline.
No, I know that. I didn't know if there was actually like actual legit chatter out there that's going to happen.
Who knows? I don't know.
Okay.
Just let people enjoy. Whatever brings people to football and sports and time together, let it happen.
Yeah, sports transcends sport. And so why can't pop culture transcend pop culture into sport?
Speaking of pop culture and sports, how do you feel about Kendrick Lamar at the halftime show?
I didn't know he was performing.
I'm excited.
He and Drake are in that beef, right? And I heard at the Grammys, Kendrick Lamar, I don't know how many Grammys he won. And like people were like picking at Drake, I guess, apparently in the crowd every time he was winning all these Grammys.
Yeah.
I don't follow that too closely, honestly, because
I don't either. I don't follow the beef.
I'm too old, and also I just don't listen to music, really.
I know. The popular songs by Kendrick that I've listened to, I have loved. They just make me kind of bop around. I like them. So I'm excited to watch the Super Bowl performance.
Does Kendrick do that one song I know that our son sings? Oh. Okay. Oh, I can't wait. I hope he sings at the Super Bowl now so Jack can sing it.
He's going to. Our son, he's 6, by the way. He loves the song They Not Like Us. Yeah. Loves it. Yeah. Loves that song. Sings it.
Like us. They not like
by the way, I did find a clean version and I bought that.
Did you really?
I did. So he can listen to it.
Does Kids Bop do it?
I don't think officially. When I looked a couple months ago, I couldn't find anything, and certainly nothing you could download.
Yeah, he's got his own little like Kids Bop player.
Yeah.
That you put these cards into and it plays Kids Bop songs. They're
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
I know.
They're all right.
I like growing up when you're like a teenager, you're like, this Kids Bop stuff's such crap. But then you become a parent, you're like, oh, it's clean songs of those versions. It's kids singing it so the kids can relate to it more.
I can't tell you.
It makes sense. And it's good. These are good. It's good stuff.
I can't tell you how many times I've dropped him off at school.
And you're still singing.
And then I pull into our driveway and I'm like, I didn't turn the Kids Bop off. Incredible. Incredible.
Wow. Now that's what I call music. That's still a thing?
I think so. Now That's What I Call Music 1. Like I owned that.
Wow.
Way back in the day.
I never got those.
I did. Yeah, I did. I think that was before I had a CD burner. So that was like the way that I could have all those random songs on a CD was I would just buy the pre-made mixes.
Cool.
Then we got a burner. That was.
Yeah.
And then I got computer viruses because I had LimeWire.
LimeWire.
So that was great.
Netscape.
Yeah.
And then torrents became a thing.
Oh, I never did that.
Yeah.
I aged out of that. I was like, this is beyond my knowledge.
Yeah.
I don't know. So yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Read books. Get off of Taylor Swift's back. She's just trying to enjoy life. Oh, she's also an Eagles fan, apparently.
Yeah, I recall.
I think like a
something about
lifelong
that,
Eagles fan.
like last
perhaps.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
I think so.
Anyway, let people enjoy what they want. If she's bringing people to enjoy football, that's great for everybody.
Yep. Okay. Well, that was First and Tee, and that was the show too, I think.
Yeah.
Very long show. I want to thank Justin Ferguson and Mary Kate for coming on and
thanks, guys.
sharing their journey. Trying to be.
Okay, Dr. Phil, tone it down a little bit.
Oh. Not the Adam Ray Dr. Phil.
Oh, my Lord, please no.
Okay, so that's it. Thank you. This was a podcast.